Hey, Kenneth, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm excellent today. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. All right, well, let's go ahead and dive right in. Tell me about your business, East Coast Executives.
Yes, East Coast Executives. We're an executive search and career services firm operating in New York City, actually, at the end of the month. Well, this is the end of the month, so maybe in about a week, we're moving back up to Harlem. We're on Madison Avenue right now, but we're moving back to Harlem. We also operate a lot in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but I started the firm in Philly back in 2001 just to support people that look a lot like myself and you and people from disadvantaged groups with connecting with some of the hidden job market opportunities that exist out there.
Got it. Now, what was a specific problem that you solve for the people that you serve?
Well, so the people that I serve would be the companies actually.
Okay.
So typically, organizations were coming to me, basically saying, "Listen, we're having some problems identifying minorities, people of color, women at some of the higher level positions within their organization."
Okay.
So they started to come to me to kind of add diversity to the recruitment pipeline. And that's the problem we solved. We were really successful in adding diversity to recruitment pipelines at major organizations.
So, what was the kind of the core of the issue? Why were they having so much trouble finding folks?
So if you think about it from this standpoint, when I started my business, there, people weren't even using the internet. This was '01.
Okay.
So with, with that being said, you couldn't just go to people's websites. You had to have someone that was out there connecting with disadvantaged groups or just groups in general that represented minority interests. And we were those people. We were out at the networking events. We were members of a lot of the organizations that were minority-based organizations. And that way we were connected and we had access to a lot of the talent that was in the room. And we were coming with good opportunities. There were a lot of talented people in the room, so it was the perfect match, and there was a lot of synergy because it was sincere. This is something I wanted to do for quite some time.
Got it. All right. So you kind of alluded to it a little bit because I want, but what made you decide that you were going to be the one to solve the problem?
You know, it's a really interesting thing. I had while in college, I was looking for a job opportunity, and I felt I was qualified for some jobs that I wasn't receiving. And I wasn't exactly sure why, but at the end of the day, when I started thinking about it, I didn't have a ton of experience. So that was one thing, but I didn't have an internal advocate or even an external advocate that could kind of introduce me to the right people. Hiring breaks down to, three different things, of course: experience, aptitude, and a personality match. So with that being said, I just needed to put myself in a situation where I could connect with people that were already in the organization. And that was a difficult thing for me coming immediately out of college. So that made me start thinking about owning a temporary staffing firm.
Okay.
And okay. Because that's all I knew about. I didn't even know executive search existed at the time. So I just figured I would eventually work for a temporary staffing firm, and then I would learn the business that way and then branch off and open my own. Well, it kind of worked that way, but it didn't. I couldn't find jobs in temporary staffing, which kind of circled back to the original challenge. So finally, some really good people here in Philadelphia gave me an opportunity to work in staffing and recruitment. And it just so happens that I was able to kind of leverage that experience, build a network, connect with some really good people who told me about executive search. And I just kind of took that and said, this is the lane, this is it.
Very cool. All right. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk more about your experiences as an entrepreneur. Like you said, you've been doing this since 2001. So you've been in the business for a long time, and I'm sure you've seen
Yeah.
lots of changes. What would you say was the biggest barrier in mindset that limited your success at any point? And how did you overcome it?
Hmm. That's a really good question. Um, the mindset barrier, I guess, was just thinking that a lot of the bigger companies wouldn't want to work with such a smaller firm. When I first started, it was me. And, I had some people that helped me with admin support, but pretty much it was me. And, you don't want to walk in the door and say, hey, we're a 1.5 person operation. But just the mindset that why would they work with me? But at the end of the day, I think it was me that got the business. Once you meet with decision makers, it's really a one-on-one decision. You meet with someone when you meet with the right people, and in turn, they're able to make a decision to say, hey, let's go with this guy. Let's go with East Coast executives. So after I got my first large account, then I kind of understood that it's just a matter of being proactive, putting yourself in good situations, doing good work, and hopefully word of mouth will take you into other opportunities.
Very good. And I think you covered one that a lot of business owners have, especially as they're starting out. So I guess, but you went and you said you were targeting these larger companies anyway. Did you find that at any point these sort of self-limiting beliefs had you targeting smaller companies whenever you could have totally been going after the bigger ones?
No, just from being in the business for maybe a few years. So I worked for a gentleman. His name is Bernard Johnson, no relation, really great guy. Taught me executive search here in Philadelphia. Still a great mentor and colleague to this day. But he always was of the belief that you go after the big businesses because they have a budget big enough to support and utilize your services.
Right.
So I think that made a lot of sense to me. A lot of the smaller companies weren't willing to pay the fees that we were putting on the table to do executive search. And that was a real thing. That was a real issue for them. But the larger companies kind of understood the business, understood the importance of identifying talent and what talent meant to them organizationally, and were willing to pay our fees. So I always went after the big companies. Now I must admit, there's a niche, and it's the SMB market, the small to mid-sized business market. Because a lot of the companies also have resources, and a lot of the big companies have a tremendous amount of resources, and in turn, they have a lot of human resources as well that are out doing similar things to what I'm doing.
Okay.
But some of the smaller companies may not have a dedicated talent acquisition staff, may not have someone that specifically is a diversity and inclusion specialist there. So sometimes you're able to fill a need as a consultant with those organizations because they really don't have anybody internally that's doing that.
Very good. All right. Now you mentioned that you had a small staff whenever you started up, and I imagine that you've grown over the years. At what point did you realize, as a business owner, because I think that's a place where a lot of people get a little weary about when do I bring somebody on versus when do I hold off? I can do all this myself, but you can't do it all yourself. At what point did you make that decision, and how did you go? What was the process that you went through to figure that out?
I made the decision immediately. I knew that I didn't want it to just be me.
Okay.
So, I started getting into some consulting arrangements with larger staffing firms. And those opportunities allowed me to meet a lot of people and kind of see the way they operate. And in my business, it was a little easier to expand your staff because, like, when I took my first job in executive search, it was 100% straight commission, 1099 employee. Wow. So that's a whole different mindset, but there wasn't much risk from the people that gave me the opportunity.
Okay.
I either worked out or I didn't. So adding staff in this particular business at that time wasn't that difficult of a challenge. You just needed people with similar mindset, people that were willing to kind of go out and say, look, if I do it this way, it's going to benefit me financially.
Right.
And I need to take a risk. And I found some risk takers. I found some great people. And now, we're able to put them in a better situation from a salary standpoint. But really, some of our highest performing people have been people that have taken on that 100% commission mindset and just went out and got the business. So
that's awesome.
And I'm a good guy, I make it worth. I definitely try to make it worth their while, so it works out.
It's helpful to work for somebody that's a good guy. I think some people underestimate the importance of that and how big a difference that can be. All right.
I think in this business, because our business is based on relationships and people, mm-hmm. Most of the people in it, in my opinion, tend to be of the same mentality. It's just all about people, and you're ultimately, especially on my side where we do diversity recruiting, because there's a bigger social implication that you're kind of leaning on. You understand that you're an alum from an HBCU, mm-hmm. So you understand the importance of somebody giving you a chance,
right.
Or somebody willing to step up to the plate for you and say, I'm going to introduce you to the people at XYZ company. because you've applied 20 times and you haven't heard from anyone. So I'm going to be the one to advocate on your behalf and put you in a conversation with the right people because I believe in you.
Very good. Now, you mentioned you are in a relationship business. What do you do to cultivate the relationships that you need to build and grow your business? Because I imagine that you've got to be very strategic in how you do this.
So our business is changing a lot, and just like any other business, I think through technology and through automation, the relationships have taken a back seat to the numbers on a certain level. I think what works well for us. I was speaking to a gentleman. His name is Jordan. He's from Diversity in Action magazine earlier this week, and he reminded me of the importance of picking up the phone.
Okay.
I did something on Twitter regarding their magazine, just basically giving them a shout out saying, hey, I like what you guys are doing. And instead of just giving a thumbs up or saying thanks on Twitter, he actually picked up the phone and called me.
That's awesome.
And we had a great conversation. But I think that's kind of what we build our business on. We're the people that aren't afraid to make the phone call and say, hi, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Kenneth L. Johnson, and I'm with this organization. And through that, we know that people are going to immediately Google us and do things of that nature online to kind of find out who we are. So I've personally been really active in building a brand. We do a radio show here in Philadelphia, and that helps kind of position us as players in the landscape here. And it also helps get us in front of the right people. So I've just kind of put some things together that have allowed us to be attractive to companies as well. So that's kind of the separation piece, I believe.
Very good. Now, do you have to because you said your primary customer are the companies that hire you. Now, for the
Correct.
people that you're working on recruiting, do you have to sort of take on a different strategy in terms of building the right relationships with them so you've got a strong slate of people to pull from?
I guess in a sense, yes, because I don't actually recruit. I recruit, well, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. I recruit passive candidates primarily.
Okay.
The people I'm successful with placing are people that are already in jobs.
Okay.
So that's always a touchy call. They don't know where this call's coming from. They're like, okay, am I being set up by my current employer? Are they looking to move me? You just never know what's going through their mind. So
Right.
with being said, relationships are extremely important, but more importantly, you have to have a good opportunity. You have to make the right call. Like I can't call you about an opportunity that's below you.
Okay.
I have to know what you do. I have to kind of maybe do some research and find out what you might be interested in. And then when I pitch the job to you, hopefully it sounds like something that you want to hear more about. And then we can start to build a relationship based on the premise of a new opportunity.
Very good. What would you say are your 3 keys to success?
Okay, this is going to sound really crazy, but I think 1 and 2 are persistence.
Okay.
1 and 2 are persistence, and the third would be relationships.
Okay.
We've been fortunate enough to have an unbelievable relationship with the Urban League of Philadelphia here, the National Urban League, and the Urban League of New York. And, those relationships have helped kind of really ground me personally because you see what people are going through as they come through their career centers or come through their programs. And that allows you to not want to quit. Like, we need to get people hired at a higher level so they in turn can bring people in at the lower levels that kind of need assistance. So some of the biggest wins for me aren't even a win where I send a bill at the end. Usually it's someone I've placed in a great position, someone that's a senior manager or a director or even higher. And then I'm able to call them and say, hey, I met this unbelievable customer service rep that I'd love to get into your organization. This person just graduated from FAMU. They're looking for just an entry-level opportunity. Is there anything you can do to kind of help facilitate their entry into the organization? Those are the wins. I love that type of conversation.
Okay.
Because I was once in that position, and I think that's how we started this conversation out. So I wish I would have known someone that was willing to kind of help me out. But I think everything turned out the way it was supposed to. I'm happy.
For sure. Now, you mentioned persistence is number 1 and number 2. How do you balance persistence versus like, I have to just keep knocking, I got to keep knocking, versus you know what? I'm gonna stop knocking on this door and go build my own door. You know, how do you balance, because it's a little bit of a dance that you have to do.
Well, I believe you have to do a dance, but I also believe that if you're 100% sure on what it is that you were put here for, like if you know what it is that your life's purpose, your life mission is, if you're fortunate enough to be a person that kind of understands that and embraces that, then persistence is not an issue at all because your mission is what it is. You're just going to keep doing it, and it might not be you, but maybe I got to go to someone else organizationally to get here. And that's what's changed our business. I think for me, kind of realizing that it's a bigger picture for me and what we do.
Okay.
Okay. It allows me to say, you know what, everything's not going to work. Everybody's not going to want to work with you. But the people that do decide to work with you and the people that we do decide to work with, let's give them 100%. Let's give them all we have. Let's have an emotional attachment to this search. And that way we'll give our all. And whatever happens on the back end of that, through referrals or whatever it may be, we accept willingly.
Very good. Very good. Kenneth, this has been fantastic. Thanks so much for stopping by. Where can people find you?
So, of course, you can go to eastcoastexecutives.com, but I'm on Twitter at KLJohnsonInfo. Also, the East Coast Executive Facebook fan page, we do a show called the Career Seekers Radio Show here in Philadelphia on 106.5 FM. But we also broadcast that show live on the East Coast Executives Facebook fan page. And it's not just Philly centric. There's employment information for everyone. So it's not just Philly and New York. I have people from Houston. I have people from California to tune in because we just give good information. My co-hosts, Tiffany Sutherland and Alberta Bertolino, are excellent. And we just have a good time and share great information for career seekers.
All right, well, I'll have all that information in the show notes page so people can find it. Now, before I let you go, I do have one last question,
Yes.
and that's to deliver a line from a movie that speaks to you and explain why you chose that one.
You know what? I knew you were going to ask me about a movie. It's so funny. Probably 40 minutes ago, this is my dilemma, okay? I really don't watch movies.
Okay.
So my dilemma, I always tell people, when someone asks me a question about a movie, I don't have anything to say because I don't watch a lot of movies.
Well, if you don't have one, you can give me a line from maybe a song or a TV show or something, or even a favorite quote that you may have.
Okay. I don't have one. I'm sorry. and I love music. I listen to music all day. Like that's really what I do. So I probably have a ton of them that I could refer to, but nothing's coming to mind immediately. But I will say this. Never quit. If you have a clear passion, if you have a clear emotional attachment to what it is that you do, just don't quit. I was speaking with someone the other day, and they were speaking about the photo, and there's two guys, and they're both digging through a tunnel, and one stops right before like he was getting ready to get through the tunnel. You've probably seen it.
Yep.
Kind of live on that. It's like, all right, it didn't happen today. Like I'm waiting for this contract to come through right now. And I just had a text conversation with one of the people that are involved, and it's not going to happen today. It would have made my Friday so great.
Right.
However, I'm not going to give up. I'm still going to keep doing what I do. Hopefully it'll happen next week for us. But, it's even if it doesn't happen at all, I think we'll help a lot of people in the process. It's been a great ride. So I just what it is that we do in the big scheme of things. And I'm excited about what it is that you do. I was looking at your website. Kudos to you. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been one of those things where it's like persevere.
Yeah. So persistence. Persevere. Yeah. You get it. All right. So I'm not letting you go right now. Give me a line from your favorite movie. I might need to use.
Okay, so I've got so many movies. Okay. So I love the Five Heartbeats, right? I love this movie, but there's this line where Eddie Kane Jr. he was the lead singer, but he got on drugs, so he got, kicked out of the group, and they replaced him with his arch enemy. So he walks up to the group one night after a big show, and he walks up and he's like, "Can't nobody sing like Eddie Kane Jr." And I just love that because as I think about it now, sometimes we sort of give away our power trying to be like everybody else, but nobody can do what we do the way we do it. So we just have to
Exactly.
embrace fully who we are and what it is that we're about, knowing that nobody else can do it the way we do it. And if we do that, we'll be successful. If you kind of go back to those other principles that you said, was just be persistent and all that.
We are kindred spirits. I believe it's exactly what you said. I love it. I love it. It's beautiful. All right, so now I want to watch the Five Heartbeats this weekend,
You
and
have
I will
to.
be circling back with you with an email on Monday saying, "Hey, I saw the line in the movie." So it's 88 degrees here on the East Coast right now, so it's a little warm for this time of year for us.
Uh huh.
The NFL draft is in Philadelphia. I'll be in Harlem tomorrow, so I think Sunday I'll find some time to just sit down and watch a movie. So that'll be the one.
Do it. All right. Well, thank
All
you
right.
again. This has been fantastic.
Yes.